stepmom she can't come to my wedding if she doesn't behave. My parents divorced when I was 6. My father, who is 68 years old, started dating my stepmom, Ellen, when I was 7. She has 3 kids, 1 older than me and 2 younger. Initially, I remember we actually got along well, and I have always gotten along with her kids much better than with her, especially the younger son and daughter. However, when I was about 10, they moved in together. I had my own room with my dad. Then, 2 years later, they switched houses, and she made me move all my belongings that I had in my dad's back to my mom's because they downsized, so I didn't have a room. This started a pattern of Ellen kind of forcing me out under the radar or reminding her kids that I was separate. Anyway, they got married when I was 15, and at their wedding, her sister asked how they met. She told them the history, etc. But what I didn't know was that when my parents got married, she begged my dad not to go through with it. He did anyway. But she talked about how they stayed in touch for years, which she definitely meant as a joke about an affair. She said this with me in the room and knew I was there. She was kind of drunk and laughing. I was enraged. I silently left early and stayed no contact with my dad for about 3 weeks. My mom revealed that she actually heard rumors of this happening back then but didn't know for sure, but this was confirmation. My mom also reluctantly told me that on my 10th birthday, Ellen got really drunk and told my mom's friend that her eldest kid was actually my dad's. The timeline indicates while married to my mom. I was never told. Obviously, my mom's friend told her, and she was annoyed that Ellen tried to drop something like that at a 10-year-old's birthday party. She confronted my dad then, and he said he didn't know if it was true. I did end up confronting my dad about the affair part, but he denied it. For the rest of my childhood, I would only see them a few times a year, at Christmas, etc. So she finally forced me out, I guess. 15 years later, I have since met my amazing fiancée. I have a great career and she has the same. We're getting married next year. I now also have a great relationship with my father. We became much closer during college. We did have that argument back then, but I didn't try fighting it that much. And since then, I've never had any drama with him, and he has supported me through life. With Ellen, we've always been cordial and polite, but I have never since trusted her, and I keep as much privacy from her as I can. She is never rude to me per se, but she also has been weird with my fiancé. When I first introduced her to the two of them, she was very nice, but every time since then, she basically always avoids us. If we visit, she will suddenly have to run errands or not feel well and go upstairs to rest. But she always asks about her if she's not there, which seems fake. Meanwhile, she is best friends with her kids' partners. For years, I didn't want her at my wedding. I don't trust her at all with my fiancé's family or my friends. I feel like she will take the wedding as a chance to start some kind of gossip or drama, like she did at my birthday or her own wedding. I also feel like she doesn't deserve to be there. But my fiancé thinks it will make me seem like the bad guy in my dad's family and to her kids. It will also really upset my father, I presume. My best friend came up with the idea of sitting her down and threatening her that she can attend, but if she does any kind of shenanigans, I will tell her eldest who his father really is. I am certain he has no idea because he still is in touch with her ex and has his name, etc. And to make sure my dad is there so she can't spin the argument to him later. Is this crazy? I think she would just refuse to go in that case, but also my dad would likely be furious at me, or she might blackmail him not to go either. If I had a mediocre relationship with my dad, I'd be fine with doing that. But we do have a great relationship since then, so I feel stuck. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Be honest with your dad about Ellen's behavior over the years. Then tell him that you refuse to add your wedding to the list of events ruined because she refuses to behave in public. The day is about you and your fiancé. As such, Ellen isn't invited. Your dad won't come. He's always chosen her in the past, and there's no reason to believe he won't choose her again. But the day will be better without her there. Comment 2. Can you arrange to have some other people monitor her behavior other than your dad? If she attempts any drama or gossip, have someone on standby to shut it down, even if that means creating some distraction. like spilling a drink on her if all else fails. That keeps you from having to address anything with either her or your dad and doesn't cast you in a bad guy role at all. Now for the update. A few days after the last post, I decided to talk to Ellen about the wedding invitation. I knew I couldn't just ignore the situation and hope for the best, so I figured it was time for a serious talk. I called her to set up a meeting at my dad's house, where she usually hangs out. Told her it was something important regarding the wedding. She agreed, sounding a bit surprised, but not overly concerned. Classic Ellen. She never seems to think anything is that important unless it involves her directly. So on the day of the meeting, I arrived early to gather my thoughts. Can't go into a convo with Ellen without a game plan. Ellen showed up, wearing her usual casual outfit, looking somewhat tense. You could tell she was a bit on edge, but I think she also thought she could charm her way out of this. I started by saying I wanted her to feel included in the wedding planning. She seemed pleased at first, nodding along as I talked about the venue and dates. I mean, she probably thought she was going to have some control over everything, which was definitely not happening. Then came the real reason I wanted to talk to her. I mentioned my concerns about her past behavior at family events. Ellen's expression changed. She looked defensive and crossed her arms. I told her that if she wanted to come to the wedding, she needed to promise not to cause any drama. She laughed it off, saying she wouldn't do anything to ruin the day. Yeah, right. We both know how that goes. I pushed further, bringing up the affair joke from the wedding years ago. Ellen's smile faded, and she became noticeably uncomfortable. I could see her trying to think of a way to justify that. Then I dropped the big one, my best friend's suggestion about her son's paternity. Ellen's face went pale, and she looked like she was about to explode. She was quiet for a second, and I thought maybe I had finally gotten through to her. Instead of getting angry, she seemed to shift into damage control mode. She started backtracking like crazy, claimed that the joke at my parents' wedding was just a misunderstanding. Yeah, okay, Ellen. I pointed out the tension between her and my fiancé, which she brushed off like it was nothing. She then tried to pivot the conversation to me and my fiancé's wedding plans. Like, really? I reminded her that we were discussing her behavior, not the wedding. It was like she was trying to ignore the fact that she was the problem here. Ellen finally admitted that she had felt left out since my dad married her. She promised to change and be more supportive moving forward. I wasn't buying it, but like I said in the last post, I needed to keep the peace for the sake of my relationship with my dad. A week later, I got a call from my dad about a family dinner he was hosting. He mentioned he had invited Ellen and her kids, hoping to bring everyone together. I reluctantly agreed to come, wanting to maintain harmony in the family. At the dinner, Ellen acted pleasant, but was overly eager for attention. She kept asking about the wedding details, even when others were talking. It was like she wanted to be the star of the show. During dessert, Ellen suddenly brought up her son's accomplishments. I mean, good for him, but this was not the time or place. My dad tried to steer the conversation back to the wedding plans, but Ellen interrupted, insisting on discussing her son's future instead. I finally called her out for monopolizing the conversation and being inconsiderate. Ellen looked shocked, and the room fell silent, everyone staring at us. My dad tried to defuse the situation, but I felt resolved to stand my ground. I told Ellen that if she couldn't be supportive, she wouldn't be welcome at the wedding. Ellen looked furious but held her tongue, clearly caught off guard. Nobody was more surprised than me that she didn't blow up. Later that night, I got a text from my dad asking to talk. He expressed concern over how things had escalated with Ellen. I mean, he's her husband, so I get it, but come on. This has been years in the making. He agreed to speak to Ellen about her behavior before the wedding. A few days later, my dad called to say he had a good talk with her. He mentioned Ellen seemed willing to improve her attitude for the wedding. Of course, I'm not holding my breath. I've been down this road before. I'm just hoping she can keep it together for one day, one stinking day. But with Ellen, you never know what you're gonna get. It's like a box of chocolates, except all the chocolates are filled with crap. Edit. After sharing my story, many asked about the relevance of the paternity issue. Ellen's eldest son is not biologically related to her husband, my dad. Many speculate about the affair being with her ex, but she never confirmed it. We all assume the ex was the father since the timeline fits, but no one knows for sure.